I came out here to pursue my career in filmmaking.
And you feel like Hollywood's definitely the place to be for that?
Absolutely, you meet people like crazy. I mean, just doing this, working out on the boulevard, I have met the people who make the costume, the real costume for Captain America.
Oh, wow.
I've met some of my favorite YouTube celebrities just being out here.
Yeah.
Also, like, I bumped into a few famous people in liquor stores. They're all here. I wouldn't say the word tough, I would just say it's a challenge. It's absolutely achievable. If you listen to other people and you don't let your head get in your own way, you don't stand in your own way, it may take a little time, but you'll get there.
Yeah, so it's also about who you surround yourself with out here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta surround yourself with good people. Don't waste your time. It's easy to get distracted and lost in Hollywood. There's great nightlife here. There's all sorts to distract you and take you off track.
Yeah.
Started off with a cleanse and now we're in Nasty Gal having a mimosa. Hashtag LA.
Hey guys, what's up? So this is take like 457 of me trying to get this message out there because I've just been trying so hard to find the right words for this experience, and I've just come to terms that there is really no best way to describe it. So I'm just gonna jump in and whatever comes out this time is it. So this time last year I was in America and I spent 3 months there from November to January. And for those of you who know me, and even if you don't, this experience was something that had been on my heart since I was like 7 years old, and caught my first episode of 90210 and was just drawn to the place basically ever since. And my parents took me there when I was a kid. I remember getting off the plane and literally thinking to myself that I was home. I went again in 2012 on an amazing 5-week trip with my girlfriends where literally it could not have gone any better. We just kept magically walking into the most incredible situations, and I just fell in love with the place even more. I went back in 2014 and had another amazing trip, and so I had sort of really developed such a bond and a love for America that I thought that that was the only place that was for me, that it was going to be the only place that I was going to find happiness, that everything that I had ever really waited for was there. And unless I got there, life was over basically, because in Australia and in that time, especially in my sort of like late 20s, I was really struggling and not in a very good emotional place, and really had no idea what it is that I wanted to do, no self-worth, self-love, and no real belief that I could achieve anything. And I had really put all my eggs in one basket that America was going to be that for me, that everything that I was experiencing here was somehow going to magically lift if I could just get myself there. So that was part of the appeal of going back, that I just truly felt that my life would change dramatically if I could just get to America and live there. So the 3-month trip that I had planned was pretty much with that intent. Had planned to go in April last year, and then I actually had to have surgery to get a benign tumor removed, and it was such a crushing experience because I had built this trip up in my head and I'd had my life pretty much on hold here since 2012. I was not committed to dating, I wasn't committed to moving out, I wasn't committed to finding a new career. I was just literally treading water, waiting for someone or something or some opportunity to fall from the sky and get me to America, and with the hopes that everything would change once I got there. When I had finally plucked up the courage and got my shit together enough to actually book this trip, and found out that I couldn't go because of this surgery, I fully at first went into a place of, why me? Why is this happening to me? This is all I want, and now I'm getting told that I can't go. And I really lent into that and decided that whatever the reason was obviously meant to be, and that perhaps it just wasn't the right time for me to go at the start of the year, and that I would reschedule it for the end of the year. Now that I've actually had that experience, I knew that it would have had to have literally taken something as hectic as surgery to get me to put that trip off, but the timing of me going later in the year worked out to be absolutely phenomenal. I could not have had a better experience at that time for exactly what I needed, and I needed to be in that space at that time. So I really am glad that I just trusted that process, and I nearly didn't go. I nearly didn't rebook. I nearly took it as like a sign from the universe that it just wasn't meant to be, which we all do when we're scared of doing something. It's like, oh, it just wasn't meant to be. That thing happened and it just wasn't meant to be. But that's just our own shit. So I booked the flight. I literally burst into tears when I booked it, because a part of me was also like, this is something that I have felt was it for years, and I had placed all my hopes on this experience, and I was like, if this does not work out, what the hell am I gonna do? Because this is all I've dreamt about. This is where I've pinned all my hopes. If this fails, what do I have to go back to? So I went over there, obviously with the intent to stay and create a life for myself, and I was totally right. The experience did give me everything I needed. It was exactly where my breakthrough was for me. It did give me all my happiness. It just wasn't in the way that I was expecting. So in going over there, I was surrounded by two extreme experiences, the absolute highs and the absolute lows of what LA has to offer. And it was in those polarities that I really discovered myself, what I wanted, and the direction that I am now headed in. And the first half of that experience was really being surrounded by some absolute fucking epic game-changing people that are my beautiful friends that live over there, that are all just living their highest purpose. They know what they want, they've found their gift, they're living in integrity, and they are just chasing their dreams every single day. And just seeing them step into that, and seeing that no matter what would have come up for them, that they had the belief within themselves that that was what they were called to do, and they would overcome any obstacle to get there. And the level of confidence they had in delivering that, I just sat back and sort of admired watching them in that everyday life of just stepping into their dreams and, you know, being like, no, I can do this, and I am the person for this job, or I am exactly who you need. And I realized that if I had wanted to stay, I was going to have to back myself that much and argue for my strengths and say that I was going to be better than somebody else in order to stay there, and I was going to have to really fully commit and 100% know my worth, and I did not have that. And that was a really powerful moment for me, to be watching my friends and realize that firstly, I still had no idea really what it was that I wanted to do. So I had not found my one thing, and I certainly was not passionate enough about anything that I would have had to have done to stay there to do that. Like, that was not, even though I didn't know where I exactly wanted to go, I could see the life that I was going to have there, and I knew that that was going to take me as far away from what it is that I wanted to do as possible, even though I wasn't 100% confident of that. And even if I had have decided that I wanted to stay and do that thing, I realized that I didn't have the self-belief and the self-worth. I was not the container to be able to hold that experience, that I was not in the space to be able to step up and go to interviews and really argue for what it was that I wanted, or to fight for my space to be there. I just did not have the belief. I was still full of self-doubt, did not believe in myself at all. So I really stepped into that space and acknowledge that. And from there, I also realized that I needed to be the container to be able to hold whatever my vision was or whatever my purpose was when it found me or when I found it. I just needed to work on becoming the best version of myself first, and then let the rest follow. The other half of the experience that I had there was I had connected with someone who was doing a lot of work in Skid Row and with the houseless, and I had some absolutely heart-opening experiences there where I just saw the world really for the first time in a way that I had never seen it before. You know, the LA is the homeless capital of America, and it's something that is really unavoidable to experience on a day-to-day basis there. And the connections and engagements that I experienced through, you know, shadowing my friend in Skid Row and just on the streets in general were completely eye-opening to me. It's just something that we don't experience on a day-to-day basis on that level in Australia. So my eyes were really opened to the depth of what is needed in this world and how I could really be of service. And it was within those connections that I began to discover that I was really deeply passionate and so called to step forward into something that was going to change the world, and that I had the ability to be a part of the change that desperately needed to be created, and that there are so many people in this world that need some help, some support, and need people to give a shit to change some of the things that our world needs, and that the world needs so much more light and for people to step into that space. And it was the first time that I started to get a glimmer of the direction that I wanted to head. And you know, I think in some of those experiences, like I had, you know, an hour-long conversation with a homeless man who was bipolar, and just had the most interesting experience engaging with him. And he was so beautiful, and he had said that he actually was considering taking his own life that day. And my interaction with him, he believed, was heaven sent, and that I was an angel, and he had decided not to take his own life that day. So even in that experience alone, just the fact that I had stopped and engaged with this person that normally at home maybe I wouldn't have done so, really opened my eyes to the fact that you can make a difference every single day with a conversation, with acknowledgement, with love. When you're coming from a place of love, that you can really change someone's life. And I had so many interactions like that. I don't know if anyone's seen the 30 Seconds to Mars video, but there's a guy in there who plays Superman, and he's a Hollywood Boulevard Superman impersonator. I actually was out handing out supplies, like sanitary supplies, in the streets, and ran into him, and he was living in a tent in Hollywood. And that was a mind-blowing experience, because that video was one of the reasons that I had decided to even take the chance on LA. So to have the conversation with him about how he had gone from the 30 Seconds of Mars video and being on television and doing all these things to living on the streets. I had a conversation with a guy outside of the Grove, and hearing that he'd moved from New York to LA and had ended up in a hit and run accident, and all of his finances had gone towards getting him better and in the hospital. And then he now slept on the streets, and he, you know, said, don't ever take it for granted that you can go home and have four walls around you, because you can't really sleep when you're concerned about holding your zipper down so that someone doesn't break into your tent and steal what little you do have. It was in conversations like that where I was just like, holy shit, like I am so grateful and I am so lucky. And it was just absolutely eye-opening that, you know, I think some of the perceptions that we have around people who are homeless are so far from the truth. Like, so many people are one paycheck away from being in that experience, or having one situation change their whole life to the point that that's their reality. And being able to give, obviously, you know, some of the times it was a gift of a meal or money or, you know, sanitary supplies. But what I discovered in those connections was that what they really wanted was acknowledgement, they wanted connection and a real conversation. And so many of the people that I spoke to that were living on the streets, you know, that's what they said that they missed the most. And the Superman guy, he said to me, you know, you walk down the street in the day and you say hello to someone, someone says hello back. I say hello to someone and they go cross the street. So it was just a beautiful reminder that, you know, we can really make a difference through a hello. And I would encourage you, if you're in that experience, to just really say hi. And even if you are giving money as you're walking past, like, just say have a great day, make eye contact. It's really so important. And there's so much that we can do in this space, and it's something that I'm passionate about stepping into more, even from being back here in Australia. But I had also gone over there at the time of the American elections, which was also a super interesting time to be there. And I actually participated in the Women's March in LA, which was such a beautiful experience. It was so high vibe and everyone there was just so full of love, and it was such a powerful demonstration to be a part of.
There are underpants. We don't want to send you anywhere near our
It was within, those experiences. I spent a day walking around New York where I literally just stopped and spoke to so many people on the streets, like street vendors, the houseless, people working in shops, and just had all these amazing, beautiful human connections. And I was really starting to step into that and realizing that I loved the human experience, and I loved people's stories and their journey, and just being able to have that connection was just such a beautiful experience. And having those 3 months to really pause for myself and reflect what it is I wanted and step into that space was so vital, because it gave me the space to really check in and find out who I was and play with what made me happy. And it was just a really, really, really beautiful experience. And like I said, it changed my life, because on one hand, you know, I recognized that I didn't know what I wanted to do and I wasn't the space to hold it, even if I did know. And on the other hand, having all of these amazing experiences and beautiful connections where I realized that the world really, really does have so much need for people to step in and make it a better place, and that was something that I was really driven towards doing. So within those two extremes, and having that where I was being sort of like stretched out of my comfort zone, but also having fun and just coming from a place of joy and love, I realized about halfway through the trip that as much as it had been my be all and end all, that what I really needed to do was to come home and spend the next year really focused in on becoming the best version of myself. And that's really what I did. I made that a commitment. I came back to Australia. I did the Bridge experience by Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos, which is a fucking game changer. And it really just threw my shit upside down. And it was the first time that I can really, truly remember feeling joy, and my whole body was full of energy. And it was within that moment where I left that conference room after the 2-day experience and just felt like I was like on fire, literally, like my whole body was just buzzing, and I felt free and happy for the first time in my entire life. And I truly felt connected to myself where I never had before. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to feel what I feel now. And I have really felt like that virtually every day since. And I've done so much work on myself this year and really stepped into spaces that are really fucking uncomfortable for me in order to make that happen. And the more I did that, the more I just felt 100% certain that this was my path and my purpose. And that all came from the space of developing my container to be able to find that, and making a commitment to myself first in order to achieve that. So if you are out there and you're not sure what your purpose is, and you're a little bit like I was, where you truly don't think you have any gifts, talents, have no idea what to do next, I would really advise you to firstly take I don't know off the table. Like, if you're saying I don't know what it is you want, you're immediately blocking any possibility. But from there, just focus on being the best version of yourself and finding ways to stretch into that, and also lean into your passions, like whatever it is that's bringing you joy and that little nudge that keeps pulling you forward into that area. Lean into that, like the rest will follow, and you will eventually find that all of your strengths, talents, gifts become apparent, and they all fall under an umbrella, and it's just a really, really, really magical thing to find. And so that's my purpose, that is my commitment moving forward, and I am in 2018 really stepping into that space. No more playing small, no bullshit, it's on. And my edge that I'm leaning into is to lead into that space where I can show people what's possible and shine my light in to enable others to do the same. And I want to empower as many people as possible to claim their worth and find out what they're made of and discover their purpose and really step into that, because it's my belief that the more people that are living from this space, the better the world will be. And I just cannot wait to go on this journey with you. So thank you all for watching, and I cannot wait to connect with you more and to release a little bit of what's coming up for 2018. There are lots of opportunities and exciting things coming up, so I can't wait to sort of dive into that and share a little bit more and connect with all of you. So if you have any questions at all, I would love for you to reach out to me, tag someone that needs to hear this message, like, subscribe, all of those sort of things. And I just also wanted to say that we all have a gift, we all have a purpose, we all have a message, and the world needs whatever it is that's on your heart. The world needs your medicine. You are important, you are enough, and I would love to support you in that. So stay tuned, and thank you guys. I love you so much. Bye. The road trip going, guys? How are you going? How are you driving, Mick? How are you driving? Oh, stay in the centre of the road, maybe. That'd be good.
Keep you on the edge a little bit.
I like how you're going in the back there.
Very concurrent. Very concurrent.
So what else does Ojai have to offer me?
Wineries.
Apparently it has a lot of new age stores. We could get a little bit spiritual and witchy today.
I mean, I could go for some new crystals.
I could definitely get some new crystals.
I'm partial to a new bunch of crystals, but last time I went to Topanga with my mum, she bought me a bunch. So I could go for a couple more. No, it would be moist. DJ Moist. Yeah, you've really got to put this in moist. Yeah. Oh, we're filming this, are we?
Yeah.
Are you going to put this on your blog?
I've been filming this whole time.
Not the whole time.
Oh my god.
It's not suitable footage for your blog.
Oh, what is it for the blog first?
We're here to make compassion kill.
It's nice to get out of the little West Hollywood bubble for the day.
It is. First of all, though, I'd really like to piss.
I would also love to piss as well.
Yeah.
To piss like a pregnant woman, seriously.
I'd like to piss like a bloody racehorse.
I've been in the car with such eloquent ladies.